다시 한번 인사드립니다. 저는 진행을 맡은 아나운서
Let me introduce
김하나입니다.
myself once again. My name is Hana Kim. I will be your mistress of ceremonies. This is the 2021 Korea Gender Equality Forum that will last until tomorrow, held under the theme of gender equality, paving the way towards a better future. We have 4 sessions that we have prepared for you, and let me briefly introduce each of the sessions. This first session will be held under the theme of work and lives of the youth, and beginning at 4 p.m. Korea time, we'll have second session on safe society, and tomorrow, digital and gender equality. We have 2 sessions devoted to that theme. The moderator for each session will explain the theme, and we will have that followed by a voice from the field of members of the youth generation participating in this theme in the field, which will be followed by thematic presentations given by experts. We also have a quiz event at the end of the session. If you listen well to the sessions, I don't believe you will have any trouble with the quiz event. And we do have souvenirs for you at the end, so I'd like to ask you for your active participation. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them on the comments section, and we'll try to answer your questions as we go along. We'll now begin the first session on the work and lives of the youth. We'd like to invite Shin Kyung-ah, professor of Hallym University, as the moderator.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello.
오늘 첫 번째 세션에 사회를 맡은
I have been asked to moderate this first session. My name is Shin Kyung-ah. I'm a professor of sociology at Hallym University. In the interest of time, I will just briefly like to say hello, and I would like to ask the other panelists to remain seated as they introduce themselves. We have been living with the COVID-19 phenomena for over a year now, and I think that we are transitioning to a new phenomenon because now in Korea we are talking about entering into the phase known as with Corona. This is going to be a new kind of life, a world that we have not seen before.
시점에
And in this current point in time, we are holding the second 2021 Korea Gender Equality Forum. And in this second forum, we are putting the youth front and center. And I think that this is quite significant and important. Last year, we had the Framework Act on the Youth, which was a historic piece of legislation.
정책 기본 계획을
We also have a basic action plan, the first action plan of its kind that's being implemented. If we take a look at these different series of events, we believe that this is a time that is ripe for us to think more about the plight of our youth. We have many youth audiences watching this on YouTube.
일하고 계신가요?
Where are you? And what is the status of your work and your lives wherever you are? And what is the future that you are dreaming of? Today we want to speak to that hope and to your dreams. We want to share in your hopes and dreams and discuss ways to realize that future.
첫 번째 세션은
In this first session, we want to talk about the work and lives of the youth. And this is a quite refreshing theme, but if we take a look at how this section is structured, it's quite refreshing as well. There are 3 parts. The first is called Voices from the Field, where we would like to hear from the young men and women who are living in these current realities. And in the second section, we would like to hear from experts. And then we would like to hear from youth activists, members of NGOs who are also working actively in the field.
발표와 또 토론을 위해서 이 자리에 참석해
For
주신
presentations and discussions, we do have many panelists here with us today. I'd like to introduce them to you. For the Voices from the Field, we have with us 2 panelists.
안내를 잠깐 말씀을 드리면
Let me briefly introduce
지난 10월
them
2일과 10월 3일
on April 1st and 3rd and 4th.
안전, 디지털,
Work, safety, digital.
겪고 여러 가지 어려움
We had
솔직하게
an
나누고
honest conversation about this theme,
대화의 장을 열었습니다. 그야말로
and
공론장입니다.
it was a way for public discussion and dialogue. And over 94 members of the young generation participated in this passionate exchange of ideas. And in this session, we
공론장에서 나눈 이야기를 이 공론장에
we will have 2 people who will be talking primarily about voices from the labor market.
박김예림 선생님.
We have Park Kim Ye-rim.
잠깐 소개를 일단 먼저 두 분 말씀을 드리고 소개를 드리겠습니다.
And I'm Park Kim Ye-rim. We would like to hear from her, and also Jung Taek-hee is with us. He's sitting towards the end. Park Kim Ye-rim is an activist for youth human rights.
예술을 통해서
And through art, she wants to change the world. She is an arts activist, and she's really a dream model for the 21st century. And Chung Tae-ki has introduced himself as a good office worker and a good husband and a good dad. I am
직장인 남자께
a man in his 30s who has been working in my career for about 7 years. Thank you very much.
전문가 발제는 국외와
Our-
국내 두 분을 모셨습니다.
For our expert
외부에서
presentations, we have one expert from home and one expert from abroad. We have one expert from abroad, Romina Boarini, the director of the OECD Center for Well-being, Inclusion, Sustainability, and Equal Opportunity, or WISE. I think that there is information regarding WISE Center in your
지속 가능성,
respective brochures.
그리고 동등한 기회, 이퀄 어퍼튜니티 이런 우리가 정말 21세기
The WISE
사회에서
Center, or each of the letters WISE, represent values that we have to look towards for the 21st century. It's an international organization devoted to this, and Romina Boarini is the director of this OECD Center. We also have Dr. Kim Jong-jin of the Korea Labor Society Institute, a senior researcher,
위원회, 실무위원회, 부위원장
and also the Deputy Commissioner for the Youth Policy Coordination Committee. Is a primary expert in youth policy. So after these two presentations, we'd like to move into discussion, a panel discussion. And for this, we also have invited some panelists who are really working at the prime in the frontiers. First panelist is Moon Yu-jin from the Welfare State Youth Network. I'm pretty sure that you have heard of this network, which is an affiliation of 70 different universities and graduate schools across the nation, where they talk about
바라보고
youth issues from the perspective of the youth.
오늘 이 발표를 들으시고 관심이 있으시면
If you listen to today's panel discussion and you would like to participate, you can also actively participate in that network. We also have with us Lee Tae-yun, who is with the Youth Community Union, which I'm sure you already know. It's a union made of youth delegates. It's the Korean's first generational youth labor union. They will be talking about youth, work, labor rights, and right to work. They have taken time out of their valuable schedule, very busy schedule, to be with us today. So we would like to move straight into the session to hear from voices from the field, Park Kim Yerim and Chung Tae-ki.
네, 안녕하세요.
Good afternoon.
대한민국 성평등 포럼 첫 번째 세션.
We
청년들의
are
일과 삶,
speaking
현장의
on
목소리를
behalf
발표하게 된
of the
윤예림과
voices of the youth on the topic of
반갑습니다.
life and work of the youth. It's a great pleasure to meet you.
네, 사전공론장에 대해서 좌장님께서
We have already heard about the dialogue that went on before the forum. Let me go into some more detail. 40 youth from the Republic of Korea gathered on the Zoom platform. We had a 2-hour dialogue on October 2nd, and related to work, we discussed social issues that inspired them the most, and we took a look at the reason for such social issues. The second dialogue lasted for about 2 hours on October 3rd, and we talked about what kind of solutions we need to recover from the reasons that we discussed during the first dialogue. Each of the participants discussed what gender equality means to them. Let me introduce ourselves. I am an art activist. I dream of changing the world through art. I used to be a resident activist at Asunaru, which is a youth human rights action group. Currently, I also work as a resident artist at Mangrove. Good afternoon. I am Chung Tae-ki, who dreams to be a good office worker, a good husband, and a good father. I'm in my 30s and I've been working for 7 years. Having worked at the company for 7 years, I had some concerns about work, and it was a great opportunity for me to discuss these issues with those who are similar in age, and that is why I participated in the dialogue. When I first joined the company, at that time, many people talked about work-life balance. So this was to bring balance between work and life. It's been over 7 years since we started to talk about work-life balance, but do we actually have work-life balance within our society? I would like to discuss this issue based on what we have discussed together. Well, one of the first topics that we discussed are those who are vulnerable, who are in the blind spots of human rights. We have all seen in the media the death of those who conduct overnight shipping or who clean at universities, or we have also heard of the university student who died working at the Pyeongtaek port. With aging, with bipolarization, with the increase of atypical workers and COVID-19, we see that these vulnerable groups are driven into more dangerous work. And those with disabilities and those who are part of the LGBTQI community are very difficult to have their labor rights guaranteed. The second topic that we discussed was how women leave the labor market due to pregnancy and childcare. After getting married, we see that career breaks are happening to women in the process of giving birth and raising children. First of all, sometimes it's very difficult for women to go back to work after giving birth. Employers do not prefer women who are in the age group of possibilities of career breaks, and they wish to enhance efficiency through hiring men. And the utilization of child care leaves by men are much lower compared to women. We can see that 21.6% of parents are using leaves, 63.6% of them are women, and that is actually 64,851 women. Only 1.8% of the men use this leave, and that is only 4,000 men. So you can see that it's not prevalent for men to actually use childcare leaves. And there's also an abnormal structure in the labor market. Currently, the competition to find jobs is very fierce, and so the youth who are not able to find jobs become atypical workers or temporary workers. And in the labor market, there are some jobs that are left to men and some jobs that are left to women, which leads to a wage gap between men and women. Because of this abnormal structure, the concept of lifelong work is disappearing. So I have discussed the points that we have discussed within our platform. Now let's take a look at some possible solutions. Thank you for your summary of our discussion. So based on this discussion, we also discuss some possible solutions. First, we need to have respect for diversity and guarantee of rights for minorities. Hiring LGBTIs need to be guaranteed through the Anti-Discrimination Act. We also need to make sure that we raise awareness about discrimination against minorities. We also need to make sure that we prohibit wage discrimination for the youth, for LGBTIs, and women with disabilities, as well as migrant women. We also need to make sure that the education for labor rights is mandatory. We also need to conduct gender recognition education as well as gender violence prevention education. We also need to make sure that labor rights education is conducted from early on in public schools. We also need to conduct labor rights education for workers. We also need to raise awareness about care work. Within COVID-19, we have noticed that care labor is essential. Although it was not recognized as labor in the past, we also need to strengthen legal protection. We also need to make sure that we guarantee child care leave without any side effects, and we also need to make sure that this is legally protected. Platform laborers, freelancers, and artists who are not covered by labor rights laws should be covered by additional labor protection standards. We also need to improve the awareness of gender discrimination within the workplace. We need to make sure that there is no leaving the work or wage discrimination on the basis of gender, pregnancy, childbirth, or childcare. We also need to have internal systems to raise voices against harassment and sexual discrimination within the workplace. We also need to make sure that within promotion and merit performance assessments, we need to have guarantees that the individuals have the right to pregnancy, childbirth, and childcare. And based on such discussions, we wish to create a gender-equal society. We wanted to take a look at how we can create a gender-equal society. First, we need to create a society where self-realization can happen through work. Women should be guaranteed work environments and the choice of work. We also need to make sure that women and LGBTQIs are not discriminated in the workplace. Last but not least, we need to create a society where everyone can work without the fear of gender-based violence or harassment. On behalf of those who participated in our public dialogue, and let me share with you the inspirations that we have had. I am a woman, I am a part of the youth generation, and I'm an artist. And it was great to have this safe environment to discuss gender discrimination and gender-based violence. And it was a great opportunity to talk about not only discrimination and gender violence, but to dream of a better future together. What I look forward to is to have an environment where women laborers can connect with each other and support with each other in the workplace. And we also need to create a safe labor environment where women can experience self-realization. And what can we do as individuals to make this come true? We look forward to other opportunities to discuss such topics in the future. By participating in this dialogue, I thought at first it would be quite awkward to participate in dialogue because we're meeting each other for the first time online, but it was a great opportunity to discuss the issues on our minds. And I also noticed that many people could relate to the concerns that I had as an office worker. And through this dialogue, I was able to add new perspectives to my thoughts. What I look forward to in the future is the fact that we are all working to live. And that is why we need to create a society where human rights is respected in the workplace. And we need to create systems that are practical. We need to have systems that can be utilized according to the determination of individuals. And in order to be a good father, I don't want to live in a society where I need to give up my work. I hope that I can live in a society where good fathers can also become good employees. Thus far, I have discussed how women and the youth could live in a safer society for self-realization. Thank you very much for your attention.
두 분 선생님 감사합니다.
Thank you very much for your remarks. Thank you for your participation in our dialogue. And thank you also for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us as presenters. And I'm sure that there are many members of the youth who are joining us online, and I hope that you will participate in future opportunities. As our two presenters have mentioned, those in their 20s and 30s, they are different from their parents' generation. They want to have a balance between their lives, their child rearing and work, and they also want to share the responsibility of childcare with their husbands or wives. And that is why the workplace and society needs to change, but we have yet to catch up with such awareness. How can we work and take care of our families at the same time? That is the kind of society that we look forward to. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Now that we have listened to the two voices of the youth, we'd like to turn to expert presentations to think about what they are thinking and what strategies that they are contemplating. We'd like to hear from Romina Boarini, the director of the OECD Center for Wellbeing, Inclusion, Sustainability, and Equal Opportunity. We've introduced her before, so we'd now like to hear from the presentation now, which is held under the theme of Life and Work of Youth, OECD Wellbeing and Inclusive Growth Perspective.
Good morning, and thank you so much for organizing this very important forum. I'm delighted to be with you this morning. Indeed, I'm coming from the OECD WISE Center, and so WISE stands for Wellbeing, Inclusion, Sustainability, and Equal Opportunities. You can go to the next slide, please. This is a center that was created and established in the OECD just last year. But as you can see in this slide, yes, you can go to the next slide, please. As you can see in this slide, actually, the work that brought to the creation of this WISE Center, in fact, is very long-standing. The real question we are looking at in this center is how we can understand the well-being of societies. What are the most important things that matter to individuals in lives, and how we can best measure the progress of a society? How do we know that the societies are actually achieving their most important goals? So this is a journey that we started many years ago in the OECD in the 70s, when we started looking again at the progress of societies and asking ourselves, how can we say that societies are growing and that individuals within those societies are actually thriving and they're making the best of their lives? We call this set of questions and issues the prosperity beyond GDP. GDP is the gross domestic product. This is one of the most important macroeconomic indicators that economists have taken for a long time to look at the issue of economic and social performance. So to know whether societies are doing well, we were looking at the extent to which the economies were growing. And of course, this is important, but looking at the strength and the health of the economy doesn't necessarily tell how the individuals that live in those societies or economies are satisfied with their lives, and whether the living conditions are actually evolving in the best possible ways. And this is why in the OECD we look at this question for many years now. You have here in this little arrow an indication of the most important milestones, the most important moments over the last few years, where we created new initiatives, new frameworks, new pieces of data that allow us to look at this issue in a very objective way. This is what we do at the OECD. We mobilize empirical evidence, data, and statistics, because we don't just want to come with a value judgment. We really want to make sure that we understand well, again, the societies in which individuals are living. I am going to talk about our recent work that we did on well-being in Korea. So I'm going to show you some charts and some statistics that look at the conditions of youth and the conditions of different groups within youth. So the different conditions of women and men. And again, with giving a lot of importance to understand diversity and the diverse conditions of people. And I'm going to speak about one report that we published earlier this year. This is the Inclusive Growth Review of Korea. So this was a special study that was commissioned by the Korean government to the OECD. And in particular, we look at the issues of inequalities and how inequalities cuts across the entire economy and society in Korea, and what would be the best solutions to address those inequalities. Can go to next slide, please. So next slide, please. Thanks. In the WISE Center, we are doing three principal things. First of all, we're measuring what matters. So as I already mentioned, we're looking at the notion of economic performance and social progress beyond macroeconomic indicators. We are looking at impact, meaning we're looking at the actions that are taken by the government, but also by the private sector to shape individual lives. We are also looking at sustainable development goals. This is something that was mentioned by some of the speakers before. The Sustainable Development Goals, as you know, is the UN agenda. This is an agenda that was adopted by all countries in the world and is what we consider the blueprint for the future. And there, of course, you have a lot of consideration for equality issues and for the respect of human rights. We also, the second pillar of what we're doing in WISE is looking at the notion of people-centeredness policies. So we're trying to integrate well-being and inclusive growth objectives and considerations in the policy cycle, meaning that we're trying to understand how various policies that are designed and implemented by governments can actually be targeted in a way that improves and maximizes people's well-being. I want to very quickly talk about one specific element within the people-centered policies work that we're doing in the WISE Center that speaks about the importance of focusing on early interventions and on the life cycle. And this is something that I'm going to comment in details during my presentation, because we put a lot of focus on understanding the conditions of young individuals, of children, because of course it is when people are very young, so really when they are very young kids, that you need to invest the most in them, in their future. And it's also the time in life where you of course want to lay the foundations for having the equality across gender and equality across groups with different needs and circumstances. And so really the approach that we are promoting in the WISE Center is one that takes this issue at the very start. When people are already 15, is already quite late, not just from the perspective of how you are investing in them, but also in the perspective, from the perspective of actually transmitting to them values of equality and values of respect of human rights. So really the idea is to ensure that from the very, very early years of life, children are educated in a way that made them possible to become adults that live in a very, very equal society. And of course, as part of what we're doing, we are partnering directly with countries, with OECD countries, but not only, we're also working with non-OECD countries, and we're trying to support their work and their policies in order for them to be able to deliver on well-being, inclusion, sustainability, and equal opportunity. Can go to next slide, please. This is the well-being framework. This is the most important central framework we're using in the OECD WISE Center to understand if people are living in a good society, whether they are doing well with their lives, whether they feel they're thriving with their well-being. The way we look at well-being as some very specific characteristics and some very specific features. Very briefly, let me point out to three aspects of this work. First of all, we're looking at well-being today, to what extent, as I said, individuals and societies are doing well. You can see in the first part of this slide on the left-hand side of the screen that we're looking at current well-being from the perspective of 11 dimensions of life. These are all the life domains that matter to individuals. We have done a lot of studies to understand that, again, these are really the areas where people want to maximize in a way or focus their attention when they want to do well in lives. And you have in the understanding of current well-being, consideration of both economic and non-economic well-being. So you have things such as income and wealth, work and jobs quality, housing. We, of course, have work-life balance. This is the main issue we are discussing in this session. The notion that, of course, we all need to work to live, but we also need to be obviously happy with the life, more broadly speaking, that we are living. And then there are things such as social connections, health, and etc. Again, that are very important. We're looking at inclusion. So it's not just about understanding how the society as a whole is doing, but also, how different groups in the populations are doing and trying to understand the determinants of that. And of course, we need to understand what are the factors that generate well-being over time. So we're looking at sustainability. Can we go to next slide, please? So we're looking at inequalities between age groups in Korea using the well-being framework. So we're taking this framework and unpacking it. So collecting statistics that tell us how different groups in the societies across the age and life cycle are doing with respect of the various dimensions I just presented to you. So when you compare young and middle-aged people, you realize that in Korea, the very young people are actually doing better from the perspective of social support. So they actually feel to be better integrated. They also feel that they have a lot of say in government's decisions. This is interesting, and I was interested to hear some voices from the field, from the activists. So it looks that these groups are very present in the debate, at least in the way they are conveying their views to the high-level officials in the government, and they're doing quite well from the perspective of long-term unemployment rate. However, when you look at things such as employment rate, earnings, voter turnout, and job strains, actually those groups are not doing as well as compared to middle-aged people. We can go to next slide, please. So as I mentioned, for us, the question is really how you start investing very early on in individuals. And of course, it is important to put in place systems of early childhood education and care. And we can see that these actually have increased a lot. So the extent of provision of those services has increased a lot. Today, in fact, the large majority, in fact, 94% of 3 to 5 years olds were enrolled in 2018, which is a higher score than in the rest of the OECD. We also see that the Korean students are doing very well. In fact, you have one of the most equitable education systems. However, the performance gaps has grown a bit, which of course is not such a positive trend. There is a lot of pressure that is put on Korean students. And we can see that from the fact that, in fact, the average levels of students' life satisfaction across the Korean students, the 15 years old students in Korea, is one of the lowest as compared to the rest of the OECD. I'd like to go quickly to the next slides. I have many more. Let me really go very fast here. So you have one of the highest share of tertiary educated in the OECD in Korea. However, the employment rates of these graduates is relatively low, and that actually is due to skill mismatch, meaning that you are, in fact, let's say, having people taking studies that are not necessarily the ones that they need to take to be effectively integrated in the labor market. Next slide, please. So very important for you going forward in terms of the solutions is to actually continue the efforts in improving the educations and boosting job creation, but also to make sure that the economy as a whole is actually supporting a working environment that provides the best interesting jobs to youth that can actually be obviously jobs that are adapted to the economy of tomorrow. So very important, the issue of supporting innovation and productivity diffusion, in particular among the small and medium enterprises. This is in one sector where Korea has a huge potential. A lot of the young people are attracted to jobs that are very well paid, but these are sort of held in the large companies in the most dynamic industries and sectors. And so there is really a need to ensure that also the jobs that are created in the small and medium enterprises are well adapted to the future of the economy. And those can become actually the places where a number of young people are attracted with attractive work conditions. We can go to the next slide, please. I don't have a lot of time, but let me still say a few words about inequalities between women and men in Korea. This remains one of the fields where we think that a lot of progress needs to be achieved. When it comes to earnings and other aspects of economic well-being, we see that there is a lot of scope, a lot of leeway for Korea to do better. So certainly quality of work and again, earnings are still very much showing a quite negative picture for women. However, interestingly, mental health related issues show that men do actually worse than women. And so there is certainly also a possibility, to reduce the gap in that direction. So women should be doing better when it comes to economic well-being. a man should do better when it comes to non-economic well-being and mental health in particular. We can go to next slide very quickly. When we're looking at public and private life in Korea and the notion of gender equality, we can see that Korea has made tremendous progress in women's empowerment. So all kinds of indicators suggest that. And in particular, that women's participation in labor markets is improving. Nevertheless, we still have a number of challenges, and in particular, the fact that the employment rate after 50 is still not as high for women as it is in other OECD countries. The gender pay gap was already mentioned by other speakers before. It remains one of the highest in the OECD despite recent progress. So gender pay gap, which is at 32.5% in 2019, and that compares with 21% in the OECD. The problem is that there are a lot of dualisms. So in the labor markets, in the Korean labor markets, with women that are often employed as non-regular workers. And so they do have lower social protections and low pay. And so there again, there is a big effort that needs to happen to ensure that those women actually are also covered in the best possible way by the social policy intervention. Next slide, please. So very important how to address and gender inequality in Korea and how to ensure that we are promoting opportunities for all. First of all, from the very early life of years in the education systems, ensure that, in fact, we are challenging the gender stereotypes in education and career choices. So more efforts need to be put to promote girls' and women's participation in science and technology and mathematics, and to ensure that we're encouraging the participation of young women in the labor markets, but also in the public life. We are also recommending to encourage women's entrepreneurship through support networks and specific advice to funding opportunities. We want to make sure that the entire ecosystem that surrounds the operations of small and medium enterprises, particularly the ones that actually are operated by women, is a strong one. So it's not just about providing possibilities for these women to become entrepreneurs, but really to make sure that we activate the entire ecosystems in which young women are operating. And as I mentioned, really additional efforts need to be put to ensure that the gender pay gaps are further reduced. Very important aspect is to ensure that we are recognizing unpaid care efforts. Again, women in Korea are still, like in many other OECD countries, are still bearing the brunt of the unpaid work. So very often really having this double, sometimes triple burden, because they have to, they have a work outside home, they have to take care of kids, and they also have to take care of elderly. And so those efforts need to be recognized in a very formal way, and typically by designing social protection systems that are recognizing those efforts. And finally, and there was a point that was already made by the previous speakers, we want to make sure that fathers are really encouraged to take paternity leave. And we, for that, need to put in place higher rates of compensations for shorter time periods. So the actions are there, the tools exist, and more effort needs to be done to ensure that, again, this lead to successful living conditions and well-being for all in Korea. I believe this was my next slide, and thank you so much again for inviting us and for giving me the opportunity to presenting us our work. Thank you.
그 웰빙 프레임워크
Thank you very much. With the OECD Wellbeing Framework, the OECD Center has tried to look at the situation in Korea, to look at the current situation for Korean women in particular and the challenges ahead.
We will now go to the second expert presentation by Dr. Kim Jong-jin. He will discuss with us the life and journey of the youth.
예, 2021년 성평등 포럼의 발표를 맡은
Thank you very much. I am Kim Jong-jin of the Korea Labor and Society Institute. My title is the life and journey of the youth. And we are taking a look at the life cycle, the labor market, generation, gender, and employment type. COVID-19 has impacted many people. We are now looking at post-COVID-19 era. And in this era, we believe that the youth and women will experience even more inequalities, and that is the trend analyzed by ILO. The youth who lost their lives during COVID-19 and those who are not able to participate in education will have a scarring effect. And so when these youth becomes adults, it will impact their psychological health, and they will continue to live with these scars. If we take a look at the ILO report, those who are of the low-income group, women in their early 20s, and those who are not educated or trained are more vulnerable to damage. If we take a look at different generations, you can see that we have different age groups, and we have men and women, and those who had work and who did work, but you can see that those who are younger, those who are women, and those who stopped working suffered from mental difficulties. This is the same around the world and also in Korea. COVID-19 impacted the youth who were freelancers, who are platform laborers, who are between education and work. And their mental health was impacted severely, and it was very difficult for them to move on. If we take a look at the research conducted by a Korean research institute, we can see COVID-19 impacted the mental health of the youth, in particular those who are a part of the low-income group and those who are not employed, and they experienced more suicide attempts. And at this 2021 Korea Gender Equality Forum, we are discussing discrimination and care, as well as the gender-based distribution of labor, and other issues such as harassment in the workplace. And these are the challenges that the youth face in the workplace. During the last 15 years, we have seen a change in the youth participation of the labor market and those who are part of the economically inactive population and those who are in need. We can see that more and more youth are not able to find work after education. A lion's share of those in their 20s are in this state. Some people say NEET is the issue, especially those who are not looking for work. We can see that the number of youth who are not looking for work, who are in NEET, grew by twofold in the last 15 years. And if we take a look at youth, we can see that women employment and women who participate in the economy increase, but there is also a explosive growth in women youth who are in NEET. We need to also take a look at different age groups within the youth, and if we take a look at different genders, you can see that more and more youth are saying that they have no work and they are not able to find work after graduating. And we can see that women are even more vulnerable to these changes. Women who are in their early 20s are inevitably driven into part-time labor. We need to take a look at how decent the jobs are in the labor market. If we don't take a look at decent jobs, the gender gap will increase and the lives of the youth will not improve. We need to support education. We need to support the labor rights of the youth. If we do not do that, the quantitative policies will not work. If you take a look at this slide, these are the statistics related to part-time workers and atypical workers. You can see that for part-time workers, there is not a big difference. But you can see that the fixed-period workers in their 30s has a large gap between men and women. So you can see that for part-time workers, the wage difference is not large, but for fixed-period contract workers, the gender gap is quite large. We can also see that a considerable amount of industrial accidents happen to those who are in their 20s. You can see that harassment, stress, if we include these areas, the percentage will be even larger for the youth. Even excluding these mental difficulties, there is a large percentage who are driven to industrial accidents. We also see that our structure is driving the youth to freelancing and platform labor. We can see that 56.18% of the platform laborers are youth. These are the laborers who are not protected through our laws. And you can see that in freelance and platform labor, if we take a look at the different age groups, the wage gap continues to increase even amongst freelancers and platform laborers. So we need to make sure that the laws and standards are expanded to all parts of the labor market. The international organizations take a look at ways to create decent jobs, to create formal economies, to create capacity during COVID-19, and also to build capacity during these times. In 2013, the EU created a policy called Youth Guarantee. Youth Guarantee provides more opportunities for the youth for them to live autonomous lives. In Korea, in 2020, ever since the enactment of the Youth Basic Act, we have set a similar direction to respect human dignity and for the youth to live as democratic citizens and to fulfill their potential. Every 5 years, we need to come up with a basic plan for youth. So as you can see, within the group of youth, different age groups and different genders are at different situations, and therefore we need to have customized social safety networks. We need to make sure that we have watertight safety nets for the youth, and we also need to provide appropriate support for youth in need. We need to make sure that the voice of the youth is reflected in more policies so that we have sustainable employment policies for the future so that we can have a Korean youth guarantee. Last but not least, I would like to quote from ILO. Numerous youth are not given the opportunities for education, and they are driven into work that cannot bring them out of poverty. In order to break this vicious cycle, we need a worldwide campaign to adapt the ILO resolutions. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Dr. Kim, for your presentation. During COVID-19, this is a situation faced by the youth of Korea. What was quite notable was that youth in need actually increased exponentially, and the gender gap in wage is very high, and 58% of those in platform labor are youth. Thank you for also sharing EU's youth guarantee. You also quoted from ILO to find solutions, and that ILO mentioned that we need social movements by the youth. Now we would like to invite two activists.
문유진 선생님.
First, we'd like to hear from Moon Yoo-jin. Hello, I've just been introduced. My name is Moon Yoo-jin from the Welfare State Youth Network. I would like to begin by commenting on the question that was raised by the moderator. Where and how is your state of work, and how do you want to work in the future? When I was asked that question, I felt a heavy sense in my heart, because right now, if we look at our society, depending on where and how you work, you really don't have a choice in the matter of deciding how and where you can work. And I think that this has been maximized more by COVID-19. As we've heard from Dr. Kim Jong-jin in his presentation, last year at our network, we were able to do a survey on young workers who are working in the travel industry after COVID-19. Given their instability the more unstable their employment status was, they were the first to be exposed to various risks, and the more outside of the security or welfare safety net they were, then they were more exposed to threats. This means that if they were in non-regular workers, they were faced with various risks, and even if you were working in a big corporation, you could have access to some subsidized funds, but if you're working at a very small company, they would have to leave their jobs and they were not able to access the subsidized funds given by the government. The government's policies towards this, I think, was a way to try to drag out the time. There was not a strong, substantial safety net in place. There was not income subsidization, and there was not any actual effort made to provide education and training opportunities for the youth to try to upscale or go to an upwork through upskilling. And I think that we were able to see that Korea, as a government and as a state, were not able to make use of this opportunity to try to get to a better state of affairs. The job training opportunities were not substantially reinforced, so this was not of a help to the youth in the COVID-19 era. It was not a way to help the youth upskill and try to transfer their skills to another market. We heard about care work in the presentations. I think that care work and care services and the lack of care services in the COVID-19 era made it very difficult for women because the women were unable to send their children to school or to daycares or nurseries. And this meant that somebody had to stay home with the children, and the women were not free from this kind of burden. This means that women were placed with the additional burden of care work. This means that because of COVID-19, in a very short period of time, the women had to exit the labor market or take out leave or maybe take a cut in pay to stay home with their children. This is the kind of reality that the women were confronting with. I am also working with many colleagues who are mothers, and sometimes I see colleagues having a lot of trouble because they can't find babysitters or they have to leave work early because they cannot find anyone to take care of their children. And when they tell me these stories, I wonder that I feel also a sense of responsibility, but I also feel, why is it that it's only the female colleagues who have this sense of burden, who always feel the sense of guilt when it comes to their children, when obviously it took two people to have these children? So when it comes to maternity leave and care work and child work, this burden is placed on the women, and the women are made to shoulder this burden, that they are penalized for being mothers in the job market. And this is also something that is true, not just of actual mothers, but even if you are single, even in the areas where you are going for the employment, you are not free from penalties, because even if you're single, people take into consideration that you are going to be a mother and get married in the future. So the young women who are trying to get into the labor market are actively placed in discrimination. If we take a look at the public corporations and Donghaetaeak in 2021, the finance corporations in 2015, there were the gender ratios set for arbitrary reasons, and there were very discriminatory questions placed on the women in the job interviews, such as, are you going to have children? And this is obviously illegal, but the administrative procedures were not substantially strong enough to help the women. COVID-19 has brought so many changes and transitions to our lives. Some industries were completely threatened, and our way of work changed, our relationships changed as well. But as I mentioned before, Korea's social safety net is so weak, and the policies to help people to transition their lives is not enough. We have to take COVID-19 as an opportunity to try to rectify the different weaknesses and vulnerabilities that we see, so that the policies can become stronger to help anyone and everyone who is faced with these different threats. We've heard from the youth activists who participated in the public discussion sessions, and that was very helpful and encouraging. I hope that the recommendations made there can, in the future, allow for our labor market to become more equal. I would also do my best in the field. Thank you very much.
문유진 대표님
Thank you very
감사합니다.
much, Ms. Moon, for your responses. In COVID-19, we were able to see how non-regular workers and people who are outside of the social safety net, especially the members of the youth generation, have had no access to government support and safety, and especially for young mothers who are feeling guilty for having all of these burdens to try to go home and stay with their children. They have to feel this sense of heavy guilt and burden, and she has been very vivid in her presentation.
네.
Next, we would like to invite President Lee Chae-eun of the Youth Community Union. Good afternoon. We are Youth Community Union representing ununionized youth laborers. For the youth, it's very difficult to find jobs and do their jobs well. The unemployment rate experienced by the youth continues to increase, and they need to be active in order to find jobs after university. And it takes them over a year to find jobs. And even if they find jobs, they experience harassment, violence within the workplace. This is because there is too little job, and there is also an overflow of jobs that are not decent, such as freelancers and platform laborers. The quality of labor impacts the youth, and they are quite vulnerable to the quality of jobs. This is because when their first job has no employment security, this impacts their whole life. But for the youth who are just starting in the labor market, the society is not that kind. There is a lot of difficulties in the process of finding jobs, and there's also cases where the employment is canceled. For example, an individual is notified that they passed the exam and they have been accepted by the company, but then later on that is canceled. But this is not protected by any system, which leaves the youth vulnerable. And there's too few decent jobs available, and so the competition amongst job seekers is very fierce. In order for the youth to find jobs, they are investing a lot of effort and time. But despite the effort and time, they are not able to enjoy the fruit of that. And so that makes them fall into despair. And this actually translates into them blaming external reasons, for example, social structure. And sometimes they tend to blame specific people or genders or generation. Sometimes some people blame women in the labor market or the elderly in the labor market. And some men believe that that has led to a decrease in jobs for young men. Of course, in conclusion, that may look like that, but that actually is not looking at the fundamental reason for the problem. The higher participation in economy by women and the elderly is a natural part of social development. So what is the issue at hand? The fundamental issue of youth unemployment is the fact that there's a lack of decent jobs within our society. The large companies try to reduce costs by decreasing the number of headcounts, and they outsource, which leads to unstable jobs. And for public jobs, they actually have indirect creation of jobs by investing in companies. So structural issues are the fundamental reasons for the lack of jobs. And when we do not see these fundamental issues, we go through social chaos, such as hate for women. This social chaos leads to social unrest and conflicts. It does not do anybody any good in terms of employment for the youth. And so therefore, in order to find solutions for unemployment, we have to take a look at the fundamental reasons. You should not blame a group or an individual when you cannot find a job. It's not because someone has taken your job, and it's not because of the lack of efforts that you have made, but it is because of the society itself. But even if you work hard to find a job, the job stability is not guaranteed. Due to COVID-19, we see that employment for the youth is becoming more unstable. In areas that are not essential, laborers are driven to the lack of jobs, and sometimes they are easily let go of. Especially women workers in retail and restaurants, they were impacted even more during COVID-19. This is not due to COVID-19, but it actually is COVID-19 aggravating the problem that was already there. This is not just for women laborers. They're not losing jobs because they're women. It's because they actually were having jobs that were already unstable. A core issue within atypical workers is part-time work. Part-time workers the number of part-time workers goes beyond the number of fixed contract workers. Part-time workers work less than 15 hours a week. And for these short-hour part-time workers, they're not compensated for the 5-day work week, and they are excluded from retirement funds as well. At the Youth Community Union, we analyzed the raw data for the Economically Active Population Survey, and we have seen that women between the ages of 20 to 24 who are in short-hour part-time labor was 114,000, which is higher than any other group with the exception of the elderly. So for the youth who find it difficult to find decent work, exams are the only way to find decent work. We can see that 500,000 youth are studying for such exams to enter decent jobs. More women are preparing for these tests, but due to COVID-19, we can see that those who are studying for these exams are half-half between men and women. We can see that social conflict arises from the lack of employment security. And so we need to take a look at the fundamental reasons when finding solutions. We need to make sure that decent work for everyone equals decent work for me. Within the workplace, gender discrimination is quite prevalent, and the issues of gender discrimination is directly linked to our lives. Within the pre-event discussion sessions, many of the people talked about discrimination in terms of care labor, wages, and promotions. It's not just linked to a specific gender, but it's linked to various stakeholders. The patriarchy that is deep-rooted in the Korean society and the competition to try to get more than others, which is a part of capitalism, is together creating these fundamental challenges. And these fundamental challenges are leading to discrimination as well as the gap in asset value, which is damaging the sustainability of our society, not only for women, but it also impacts other vulnerable groups within our society. The society, labor, culture, laws, and institutions are now being coupled with cultural interests, and we need to make sure that we move out of this vicious cycle. We have always worked within our society to move out of this vicious cycle, and we're not sure how long it will take to break this vicious cycle, but what we need to do now is to work for change, and the need for that change is larger than ever before. And so as we have done thus far, we need to ask our society to change, and this change must be based on gender equality. In order to create a sustainable society, this is what we need to do for our future. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the youth who are driven into jobs without job security is very prevalent within our society. The part-time workers are numerous within our society, and so through their experience, we could look into the issues within our Korean society. Thank you very much for your detailed discussion.
With that, we have concluded our session, but we'd now like to move into a panel discussion. We have about 15 minutes left remaining.
주셨다고.
I see that we have heard a lot of encouraging remarks on the chat windows, so thank you for that. Please keep them coming. I believe that this positive energy will change Korean society and transform the lives of the youth. We've heard from Ms. Lee Tae-eun, but this issue concerning the youth, especially this gender discrimination, inequality in the labor market, is not something that is just about women. It's something that impacts minorities and members of the vulnerable population. So we have to consider ourselves armed together in solidarity. We also have some questions in the chat window, so I'm going to briefly take a look at that. And also we would like to ask our two experts who have given their presentations for their comments. Some of the questions is that in the labor market, there should be some social support measures. But if the companies don't want to enforce them, what should we do? Why are companies not trying to do that? Because in Korea, there's something that we call employment encouragement funds. So there are these support funds that are given to people who are looking for work. But when there are these subsidized cash funds available by the government to the companies, that's only when the companies hire new people. And when the cash subsidies stop flowing, then the companies stop hiring more people or even let go of the people that they have hired earlier. So I would like to ask these questions to our presenters, because right now our youth are really concerned with all of these different issues. But companies have to change their behavior, and the state would also have to work harder. So what is the role that companies can play and the government should play to try to enhance the quality of the work for the youth generation? What should companies and the government do to try to decrease gender discrimination in the workforce? Dr. Kim mentioned the youth quota or in Europe, so maybe something like that, some case examples that companies and the government, what role they can play. So I'd like to give about 3 minutes each to our experts, and then I'd like to move into the next question. Maybe first we'd like to hear from Dr. Kim and then Dr. Boarini.
온라인에서 채팅방 질문.
Thank you very much to the questions that have been raised during the online chat window. I would like to answer two questions. In the past, we talked about social insurance and social safety net, but ILO continues to talk about social protection. It's not just about a safety net, but it's about safety itself and also talking about education, training, technology, and capacity. And so the social protection is a wider concept. At companies, they are reluctant to accept this concept because of the higher burden that they have financially, especially during COVID-19. Should we expand employment insurance to platform workers and freelancers? Well, the employer groups are against this because of the financial burden that they anticipate. Employment promotion funds are supported to SMEs in order for the SMEs to be encouraged to hire the youth. So it's a cash support. So we also need to think about SMEs and large companies in Korea. The youth, they want to find jobs at large companies. In the past, we see that only half of those who are employed at SMEs stay there, and that actually increased to 2/3 because of COVID-19. But we need to make sure that the support does not go to companies, but to the youth themselves. And we also need to help them build capacity. Recently in France, they have started the civic activities so that the youth can actually have opportunities to build capacity depending on individual needs. That is the direction that we need to go in. I think the youth guarantee system was probably something that our presenter from OECD is more knowledgeable about. We need to focus on youth unemployment, and we tried to find jobs within Korea, but that was not sustainable, especially for the vulnerable youth. We need to find more opportunities for the youth to have experience in working, and we need to connect counseling for those who are in need. We need to make sure that we have sustainability in jobs for the youth in need, especially through youth guarantee. So, for example, if we have someone who wants to be an expert in human resources, it's not enough to just talk about human resources and teach them about human resources management, but we need to also work on the non-cognitive skills such as interpersonal skills and communication. And that is why in France, there are youth centers that work with these non-theoretical capabilities. So we need to focus on the youth and not the employers. Thank you very much. You talked about various aspects. You mentioned that we need to think about policies that think from the perspective of the youth. That is what we're trying to do today.
Dr. Boarini, yes, we would also desperately want to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the great questions. So I think I'm going to start with a general comment and then maybe two specific remarks on the conditions of youth and women. The general comment is the following. I think what we are seeing in all OECD countries is that this notion that it is not only for governments to intervene, but actually is also for businesses and the private sector to change their behavior. This is a trend that is becoming very general. And it is interesting to see that governments and companies are now partnering together actually to deploy such strategies, which we would call, responsible, so business conduct strategies. So in other words, these are strategies where you, as a business, understand that you're not only there to make profit and to maximize your financial returns, but you're also there to make a difference in the society. And so that changes fundamentally, I think, the way businesses are looking and are operating. And so it also changes the relationship to governments, because indeed, I think what we saw in many countries in the past is that governments was sort of helping businesses to behave well, but that, of course, has a cost and certainly is not always very efficient. So that doesn't mean that governments is not there to support individuals, or so governments should withdraw its subsidies to help the most disadvantaged workers, but it means that really the private sector should do more. So how this is possible? One of the mechanisms actually is not even coming from the government as such. It is actually coming from the society as a whole. When the society starts putting a lot of pressure on the private sector to behave well, things change, right? Because if consumers and society as a whole start having a strong expectation that businesses can't just treat workers in an unfair manner, then of course this gives strong incentives to the private sector to become more responsible and therefore have a different way to handle minorities and to handle inequities and inequalities. So in general, I think what is important to remind here is that, of course, the sort of relationship between the actions of the governments and the actions of businesses should be a dynamic one that takes into account the new challenges that both governments and businesses are facing, but at the same time with a shared sort of sense of responsibility. And so the businesses should more and more incorporate those objectives of inclusiveness. And this is something we are seeing, because actually that's the beauty, I think, of all it, is that obviously this also comes with increased positive externalities for the companies. And in fact, the companies, for instance, that have invested, especially when it comes, to recruit women and to make sure that women are promoted, are actually very efficient companies. And so, it's not just they're doing something because they want to be nice, to women or again to disadvantaged groups, is that there are very specific investments can be made by companies that are also going good from the perspective of increasing the performance of companies themselves. So, about the fact that there is a strong business case for gender equality within companies. And so whether, it should take quotas or other mechanisms, it very much depends on the conditions of the companies, on the countries, etc. So it's hard to generalize, but in general, we see that actually companies where you have, women at the top of the positions or, having very dynamic careers are also companies that tend to do well. So that was a general comment on youth and women. Youth, I certainly agree with what was said before, and at the same time, I think I would perhaps focus more the element of training and the fact that when young individuals are integrated in the labor force, in companies, really the most important thing that needs to happen is for them to have the ability to essentially learn on the field, to have the possibility to take advantage of all the skilling and upskilling opportunities that are provided by the employers. So I don't think it's a question of necessarily, so social protection, yes, and I think the financial aspect of it and the financial compensation can be a positive lever, but it's also about what they are being given as possibilities, to develop in terms of skills and in terms of job opportunities as they work. And it's a different group, obviously, than others. And so I think, they are more dynamic. And so they also have obviously higher possibility of mobility from one industry to another. So I think it's also about understanding, how the social protection mechanisms and how the labor market policies that are designed specifically on the youth conditions can empower youth actually to move from one job to another, but in a way, obviously, that improves their economic and non-economic well-being. And so I would say that, in particular, the main challenge is when we're talking about young women. And so, we're talking about sort of career mobilities and career opportunities at the point in time where, they have to sort of be very active and very productive, in their jobs. But of course, they also have to think about, having children, having a family. And so that is in particular where I think the social protection system needs to be designed, and the actions of the private sectors also should be encouraged in a way that provides fair opportunities for young women to do well, both in the job and obviously in their private life.
예, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much for those comments. I think the interpretation was sufficient, so I don't need to summarize, but I think that the companies and the government, there's this partnership that is being formed between them, and there's also some kind of tension and tug-of-war between them, that the government has a role to play and the corporations have a role to play, but also society, that the society can call out on these private corporations, and even the youth can also call out against these corporations. And she's also talked about these different experiments that are being conducted.
그러면 시간이 한 거의
It seems that we are almost out of time. Maybe we just have 5 minutes left for this session, because this is an important gathering, and we have 4 more people who have taken the time out of their very busy schedule to join us on the panel today. So whether it be with Corona or post-COVID-19, in order to make sure that we reflect the needs of the youth, can you take turns to just mention for a minute each on what the government and companies should do? Let's start with Ms. Moon Yoo-jin, go to Ms. Lee Chae-min, and then go to the 2 speakers who spoke a part of the voices of the youth.
I do believe I discussed this in my discussion, but I think that the words spoken by the youth activists and voices from the youth was quite inspirational. And because the comments that were raised in the public discussion, I think this is really what the youth activists and the members of the youth desperately want. So I hope that the government will answer to that. Right now, one of the biggest challenges for the youth is that there is discrimination when you're entering the labor market, and once you are in, the women suffer these penalties just for the fact that they are women. So companies should do their best to try to realize their social responsibility, and the government should recognize these different behaviors as illegal and take a very strong hand in punishing these perpetrators. The issue of care work that occurs after women enter the labor force, the government should try to provide more effort to try to provide more care work, public care services, and work so that the so-called mother penalty is not something that women feel, but create conditions for fathers to also actively engage in child rearing. Thank you very much for all of the presentations.
네, 저는 방금 이제 디렉터님께서
Well, as our director has mentioned just
사회가 이제
now,
기업에게 어떤 책임을
the society needs to ask the companies to be responsible. I completely relate to that. In that process, I believe that the role of unions is very important for laborers and for the consumers to
어떤 노동자의 권리라든지
ask for labor rights or to find solutions for gender discrimination. It's very difficult to voice our opinions strongly within the Korean society.
어쨌든
And so,
노동조합에서 단순히
Within labor unions,
어떤 그 자신의 조합원뿐만 아니라 이
we're not
사회에
just
처해
taking
있는
a
사회가
look
처해
at
있는
our
어떤 차별에
members,
대해서
but
적극적으로
I
해석하고
believe that
역할을
labor
하는
unions
역할들이
need to be
필요하다고
very
생각을
active
합니다.
in fighting gender
그런 데 있어서
discrimination.
이제 노동조합이 그런
And so,
과 어떤 역할을 잘 하기 위해서는
in order for the
노동조합이
labor
이제
unions
잘
to play that role,
결합하려는 어떤 노동자의 그런 의지와
we need the
그런 것들이
determination
조금 더
of
중요하다고
the
생각을
laborers for
그리고 이제 아까
unionization.
말씀해 주셨던 것처럼
And as someone has mentioned before, in education and training,
문제를 좀 이제 실현하기 위해서 또
we need to make sure that we reflect the needs of individual jobs. And I believe in that process, the role of labor unions is very important. Gender discrimination, as I mentioned before,
이런 성차별들이
is
노동계에서 잘 해결이 됐으면 좋겠습니다.
something that we hope to solve within the labor market and within the labor circle. Thank you.
네, 오늘 그 공론장에서 나왔던 이야기들을 전문가분들이 좀 구체적인 수치와
I think that with some of the different comments that were raised in the public discussion were really fleshed out with the expert presentations, with the statistics and figures, and I think that that was very helpful. I really enjoyed the words of Dr. Boarini that we have to try to reinforce the ecosystem for SMEs, especially in a way to try to help female entrepreneurs and female CEOs. And as someone who's a female entrepreneur myself, although I just had a very small brand, when there's support from the government, that would also enable me to create quality jobs for the youth, and which I will also commit myself to.
네, 말씀해 주셨던 내용 중에
Well, within what we have discussed, for the companies to hire women, I don't think it should simply be a social responsibility. We need to recognize the fact that women are valuable members of companies. When I first started my job, there were many men and women amongst my colleagues, but as I grow older and as more women give birth, they give up their job and recognize themselves as only mothers. And I think that's quite unfortunate. Women working at companies, of course, it's very helpful to the economy. And I think there should be a higher recognition of this. And I hope that this could be translated into guarantee of labor opportunities for women. And that actually will lessen the burden on men as well. So we always talk about the youth, but not many opportunities enable us to listen to the youth. This was an opportunity to listen to the youth. We had many participants online, and I know that nothing can be perfect, but I believe that this was a great beginning. Thank you for joining us at session 1 of the Korea Gender Equality Forum. We had great members of the panel, and I believe that we will have the forum until tomorrow. I hope that you will join us both today and tomorrow. Well, the future is in the hands of the youth here today, and so let us turn the floor to the youth in our lives. Thank you very much for joining us for session 1. Thank you very much.
네, 청년들의 일과 삶을
So that was a
주제로
session on the work and lives of the youth.
더 평등한 세상에서
We had a
일할 수
discussion
있도록
where
머리를 맞대고
we
이야기를
could talk about
나누었습니다.
different ways
사전
to enable a
공론장에서의
world
이야기를
where the youth
확장시켜서
generation can lead
지속적으로
better
토론하는
lives
가치로
with quality
가진
work.
시간이었는데요.
We had
정부와 기업이
discussions
청년들의
and presentations. This was a valuable session for all of us. We hope that the government would listen more to the voices of the youth, and so that we can all have solidarity going forward. I'd like to thank Professor Shin for moderating the session and also thank all of our participants. participants and panelists. We're going to take a short break and meet back at 16:00 hours, 4 o'clock p.m. for the second session, which is held under the theme of A Safe Society. I'd like to ask you all for your continued interest and attention. After this session, we're also going to have the quiz event, as I mentioned before, and if you had closely paid attention to the session, you will have no problem answering the quiz. The quiz event will be issued shortly. You can scan the QR code or press on the URL to participate in the quiz event, and after which you might win a prize. We'd like to meet you back in the second session.